Alright, so we're going to do another one today. Put up a 10-minute timer so I don't ramble on too long. So recently I hurt my back. It was a little weird kink type of thing, but it really did some damage, and I was in a position where I couldn't even sit down or stand up, or sorry, sit down or lay down. I could stand up okay, but you'd get tired after a while. But sitting laying down was just super painful for about a week, and I was able to get into a doctor, and they were able to give me some on a remedied path with physical therapy. And anyway, it was tough, right? Like that week of just constant pain. It was constant pain, and I was talking with a massage therapist about just that concept of like being in pain, what that does to people, and you know, in her profession, obviously she deals with a lot of people who have pains. Like, I mean, she's a massage therapist, and we were discussing about like where you can go with that. Like, you get into that much pain and you start alienating, right? It was difficult. You can't help it. So as an example, you get frustrated easily. Lindsay will do something and I will find myself snapping at her because I'm just like, oh no, that's not what I needed, and it's painful for me to now deal with what you've just done, and then you find yourself being aggressive. At least I do. I find myself being aggressive, kind of snapping at them, at people, and obviously I do what I can to try and avoid that, but that's just eventually you're going to fall down that path. I don't know how to describe it. You just do. When you get into that much pain, you cannot have like a casual conversation with someone. It's always very intense, and when you have months and months or even years of that kind of pain, what that would do to your relationships, you just can't be the type of person that can be jovial, right? So that becomes very difficult to deal with for other people, and then you find yourself in this dark spot where you can't form relationships, and you basically, it's almost like you sabotage your relationships because you just can't find yourself you can't deal with those people. And you know, I'm kind of extrapolating here because I've not been in that level of pain, thank God, for that long. But I wonder what kind of darkness could be uncovered if you were put into that position. You know, psychologically, I think to myself, there are certain things that I find morally reprehensible, right? And those are just my own beliefs and ethics and all that kind of stuff. But I think that if I were to find myself in a position where I was in that much pain, and by doing something that might go against what I would consider ethical might relieve that pain, I would be very tempted, and probably would very often do that thing that I would consider unethical. So just imagine, for some reason, you get some sort of satisfaction out of the feeling of stabbing a knife into something, right? So if you're just like you're just in so much pain, and that feeling of just like putting like with wood or whatever, and you just do that and do that and do that, and then you think, what if I just start killing small animals or something crazy, you know? Like, I don't know where, and I say that kind of jokingly, but seriously, like, I don't know where you would go, and I try and imagine like where might I go, and how might I detect that it's coming before it's coming so that I can do something about it, right? Find myself in compromising positions, I guess is how I'll say that. But yeah, that's just kind of what I was thinking about, and how scary that might be. I guess there's not a whole lot of philosophy around this one necessarily. It was just something that was in my mind recently because of the pain, and yeah, just one of those things. Be careful. Because anything like what happened to me it could happen to anybody, and it's just by sheer happenstance that I'm standing upright today, just like the rest of us, right? Like the odds of you getting hit by a car crossing the street, or being struck by lightning or whatever, it's just luck. And so it's just another reason, I think, to wake up thankful that you're able to do whatever it is that you can do. There's also, of course, the antithesis of that is well, I guess not antithesis. The complement of that is to also wake up and not be envious of that which you don't have, and others do. I think that's very dangerous to get into. I think this is probably a little bit more philosophical. How much time do I have? I don't know if I have enough time to talk about it. Well, maybe. Social media, the just general ability for people to get insight into the lives of others around them so easily in this day and age. You think about even 50 years ago, you couldn't know really anything about somebody who lived in another country. I mean, you can correspond with letters, and you could write, letters and send pictures, and you could visit each other, obviously. But you couldn't wake up every morning and see a picture of that person's breakfast, or you couldn't get an update from them about how their meeting went with their boss today. You know, that level of interaction you couldn't get. And you can get that, and you in fact do get that more often than probably anyone ever wants now, right? You get this interaction with people and this level of insight into their lives that was previously unattainable and probably not even wanted at this point, but it's just there. But it's through a rose, like what are they, stained glass, a rose-colored glass, like it's through that lens of perfection, that lens that you want the rest of the world to see, and you need to take that into consideration. That's the biggest important part, because you wake up and you look on your Twitter feed and you see that person and they took a picture of themselves just waking up and they're just gorgeous, they look great, you know, their hair is perfect and the chiseled jawline and the muscles that, you know, the six-pack abs and her whatever. That's not the normal, right? Like they are putting together a package for that picture, for that comment or whatever. That's part of what they're working for. There's effort involved in doing that. That's the point. When you see someone take a picture of the beautiful waterfall that they are seeing because they're visiting Hawaii, and you're sitting at work thinking, my God, my life sucks, this person's in Hawaii. How do you think they got to Hawaii? They worked and then took a vacation and went to Hawaii. So it's not like they're living that life every day. But some people do, right? There are some people who are fortunate enough to have the ability to do these things that none of the rest of us can do, and that's just luck. You can't get caught up in that. You can't use that as a datum to measure against your own life. It just doesn't. You're not going to get anything out of that because you don't understand the nuances of their life well enough to put it into context. You just can't. So let's talk about maybe a fortunate person who is born into a lot of money, has become very wealthy, and you think, oh, their life is just a cakewalk. That's not necessarily true. I mean, sure, they don't want for any money or possession, but they're probably dealing with pressures that are way beyond anything you or I are dealing with. Political pressures type of stuff. Imagine you were the son of a senator and you are expected to be the best in all of your classes. You're expected to be the role model for everyone around you. You're expected to be knowledgeable and go to law school or be a doctor. You're expected to have so much, and not just from your parents. Like I remember as a child, my parents expected great things from me, but my neighbor probably didn't give a shit. Why would they? If you're into one of these family, I can imagine that it's not just your family that expects this from you. Like I think to myself, I see some kid who's driving, let's just say 5-year-old kid in the back of some Bentley. I see them driving down the street. You can see, it's their family car or whatever. I can see that. Immediately, I think to myself, that kid better grow up to be a contributing member of society. They better be with all the luxuries, and I won't even say luxuries, with all of the opportunities that person has had throughout their life, they have better do something good with it, damn it. That's what I think in my head. So I have an immediate expectation that person is going to do something amazing because of the inherent opportunities they'll have due to wealth. And that's just the nature of being alive. The more wealthy you are, the more opportunities you have. But I think like I said, it's important to note. Oh, there it is. Time to go. This 10 minutes is working out. Just keep in mind that just because someone has something that you don't doesn't necessarily mean their life is easier or better than yours. And it's very hard to come to that conclusion when you can see so much of everyone else's life. And money and wealth seems so, I don't know, it seems so, that seems like the goal, right? Is that my goal? And no, I don't think it should be. And I'm actually I'm gonna save this topic for my next talk, but no, I don't think that wealth should be your goal. I would caution you against that, and note that what you may think that a person's life is like, it cannot take into consideration the nuances, and you cannot look in such a limited scope at someone's life and make a very just decision about whose life is better. You just can't do it. So don't do it. You'll just be miserable. You hear about those people all the time reading those Cosmo magazines and just feeling horrible about themselves. And it's the same reason. They're getting a limited scope into this one person's life. And just because they look beautiful, they must think the rest of their life is beautiful. And that's not necessarily the case.